Just Joe here, and I've got too many movies. Maybe I should watch one. It's once again Friday, bitches, which means I get to watch another movie from my very large and extensive movie collection that I have never seen before. Now, after last week and watching the abortion known as Arthur 2 on the Rocks because he's an alcoholic, you get it? I've decided to, try not to go that route again this week because I just don't think my heart and my head can take it. There's got to be a gun in this apartment somewhere. A man can only take so much. So I'm going to watch a movie that I've always wanted to watch, but frankly been a little bit afraid to watch it because it's by one of the all-time greatest and truly greatest writer and directors ever in Hollywood, Billy Wilder. Now, I have only seen a few of Billy Wilder's films. I've collected a good amount of them. There's two in particular I've always wanted to watch but never have. The first one is Some Like It Hot, which is still considered to be the greatest comedy of all time, or at least always in the top 3 or 5. And there's also another one that was very controversial for when it came out, and I was always worried to watch it because everyone just raved about it, how it still holds up after all these years. That film that I'm referring to is The Apartment. Yes, Billy Wilder's controversial movie from 1960. And the reason why it's controversial, I have no idea. I haven't seen the movie yet. So that's probably what I'm going to go do now. I'm going to go watch the movie, then I'm going to, think about it for a second, then I'm going to come back and I'm going to drink more coffee. That's what I do because I'm just Joe, and I'm going to do that. I usually, bye. Boy, okay. Okay, I just got done watching The Apartment, and I'll just go ahead and say it lived up to the hype. This movie is fantastic, and I can definitely see why it was so controversial for the time. I mean, honestly, I do. It's amazing how some of the storylines in this movie were really ahead of their time, which Billy Wilder, he was very ahead of his time for most of his movies, but I was shocked by some of the content in this movie. And it's 2017. This movie was made in 1960. Hold on, I got this. I'm barely a high school graduate, okay? Can you just give me a break? 47 years later! No, that's not right at all. Close. 57 years later, I wasn't even a sperm yet. I was not in my father's balls yet. And I really don't ever want to say that sentence again. But regardless, as always on Too Many Movies, with Just Joe, I start with the plot / the script. Now, the plot of The Apartment is a doozy, and it's very funny and very tragic at the same time. I mean, this is the definition of a comedy drama. This is the definition of a comedy drama. It really is. Hell, it might have invented it. So basically, it stars Jack Lemmon, the fantastic Jack Lemmon, who I don't think I've ever seen him bad in a movie, even when he was, getting older. But Jack Lemmon is C.C. Baxter. He's just kind of an everyday guy, just waiting to get ahead in the business world. He works, in a building, the 17th floor of his building, in an office, just doing normal stuff, and he's trying to get ahead. And basically how he is getting ahead is by allowing his higher-ups to get ahead. See what I did there? You will when I explain the rest of it, otherwise this is really confusing. But allowing them to basically get laid in his apartment. He gives up his apartment, so his higher-ups in the company, who are all married, of course, are having these liaisons, and it's basically allowing him to get in good with these guys, and, Yeah, kind of gross, but that's basically become his life, and he's obviously not very happy about his life. He has to stay at work, you know, a couple hours so these guys can do whatever they want, and they're over there all the time. Good lord, it's like Mad Men in this movie. I mean, did you ever see the show Mad Men? I didn't. I actually haven't seen it, but I know that the guys in that show got laid a lot. But that's basically become C.C. Baxter's life, and he's not happy, but he's not miserable either. He doesn't complain. It's just that's what his life is, and he's allowing this to go on. And eventually, he does start moving up in the company. But he meets an elevator operator played by, I almost said a young Shirley MacLaine, but duh. No, it's Shirley MacLaine from Terms of Endearment in 1960. I'm a fucking idiot. But anyway, Shirley MacLaine. She's an elevator operator and Baxter falls for her, but he finds out that she is going out with one of the higher ups. And that, of course, you know, depresses him. But eventually, him and her kind of, you know, they start to get to know each other and blah, blah, blah. And it all leads to a decision in the end, like, what's more important to Baxter? You know, this job that's really making him miserable, but he's becoming very successful, or eventually getting the girl, whether it's her or somebody else, and, you know, really kind of being a man and standing up for himself and not allowing himself to be walked all over. And that really is the plot of The Apartment, and I don't want to ruin it because the story flows so well. And the script, it's Billy Wilder, it is so well written, it's so natural sounding. Even though this movie is almost 60 years old, this movie, I wish people talk like this. Kind of fast talking, good talking. Hell, I can't even do it right now. But the script in this is wonderful, and it's brilliantly pieced together. Every scene seems necessary, and really you don't know where the movie's gonna go. Even though you do know where it's gonna go, but you really hope it ends up there. And I'm not gonna say if it does or not, but you know, and the movie just kind of kept going, and had me guessing a little bit. And I like when a movie can do that, especially a movie that's almost 60 freaking years old, you know. But the plot, for Billy Wilder to make, that's the one thing about his script. He never shows, you know, any coitus, any sexual anything. There's some kissing because of an office party, but there's nothing, they don't show anything going on in that apartment. Just kind of the aftermath. It's implied that these people are having sex. Because in 1960, that was, you know, this is infidelity that we're talking about. That was a big deal back then. Not so much a big deal nowadays, sadly enough. I think that's like probably the cause of 99.999998% of divorces nowadays is infidelity. You know, just keep it in your pants, ladies. Yeah. It's your fault. But I mean, it's obvious why this was so controversial, and there's even a drug overdose in this. That's what really shocked me, and I won't go into more detail because I don't want to, you know, F up the plot for you, but there was a sleeping pill drug overdose, and of course that happened back then. It's been happening since the invention of prescription drugs. But for this to be in a movie in 1960, I was shocked, and it makes sense within the context of the movie. It's well told, and it's not played up for laughs. That's kind of when the movie gets more serious. It was really a comedy up until this point, and they do the drama very well. And, you know, and that's because, again, of the amazing script by Billy Wilder. And there was a co-writer, I apologize, I don't remember their name, but, you know, they deserve as much props too. But Billy Wilder, he really knows how to tell a story, and he also knows how to make good characters. Every character in this, the three leads in this, you know, we understand their backstories. We're told. I never felt like there was a shit ton of exposition to explain their lives. It felt natural when they talked about their pasts. You know, it really did. Everything felt natural. All the dialogue felt natural. The jokes, you know, I don't remember any jokes falling flat. It doesn't mean I laughed out loud, but I was like, that's funny. And that may not sound like much, but for a movie that's 60 years old, it really is. Because for movies this old, it's pretty hard to make me laugh at them. You know, and I love comedies. And The Apartment is very funny. Not as funny as you'd think, even though it's considered one of the best comedies ever. And it is very funny. And there's not really any slapstick, it's just within the dialogue and how the characters say it. I mean, Jack Lemmon is brilliant, but I'll get to that next. But that's, you know, that was the plot, and again, I see why it was so controversial, and it's still a little shocking, even today, the way they did this, but because of this phenomenal script, it's pulled off tremendously. Alright, next, I will talk about the cast / the characters. The cast in this, the two leads, in terms of the guy and the girl, Jack Lemmon, it's Jack frickin' Lemmon, and he's become one of my all-time favorite actors, like top 5, maybe top 3. because the man just knows how to act and commit to a character and make it to where I never feel like I'm watching Jack Lemmon. I'm watching Jack Lemmon's character, and in this case, C.C. Baxter. And he makes Baxter, very sympathetic, but not a loser. Like, he's not a loser. He pities his life and he complains a little bit, but never to the point of being obnoxious. He's stuck. And what those of us haven't felt stuck? We all feel stuck or have felt stuck in our lives, and we can relate to this character. And, you love this character and you want to see him break out from the shackles of his life, because it's just not a good life to live, but at the same time he's being rewarded, but not, is it really worth it? So we root for him. So Jack Lemmon's amazing. Shirley MacLaine, it's cool to see her in an early performance, and it was one of her earliest performances where she got recognition, and she's very funny, she's very charming, she's very pretty, and again, her character is sympathetic, and she gets stuck in the situation because she can't help who she loves. She loves the boss that she's been going with, but he is kind of using her and maybe cares about her, but he's married, he has kids, and she does love him and wants him to leave his wife and his life for her, but he won't. It's a story that's been told a million times, and hell, maybe this was the first time. I don't know. It's a long time ago. But again, her character is wonderful. And even the boss character, he's the guy, I can't remember, what's his name? I'm looking at the DVD. Fred McMurray. Or no, I think that was the guy who played the doctor. Crap, I'm sorry. Too much coffee! But anyway, the guy who plays the boss, the main boss that gets the most attention, who's doinking Shirley MacLaine's character, Fran, you never really hate him. He's not a bad guy. There's no bad guys in this. It's just guys doing something wrong. And we all do something wrong. We're guys. We were given dicks so that there would be mistakes in the world. Yeah, isn't it great? And, he's not sympathetic like the other two characters, and you want to see the other two characters get together, but you understand why Shirley MacLaine doesn't really want to be with Jack Lemmon, because she doesn't love him. She loves her boss. She doesn't, and Jack Lemmon loves her, but at the same time, he's never forceful about it. He understands her predicament and tries to help her as a friend, and to get her what she wants, but he loves her. And it's sad, but it's like we've all kind of been there before. But the main boss, like, he's charming, he comes off like a boss, but I really liked him, and I loved him in Double Indemnity, one of my all-time favorite movies, the first Billy Wilder movie I ever saw. Hopefully I can do it on the show one day on Too Many Movies Rewatched, because it's one of the greatest movies ever made, but I loved his character. And really, there's some other characters like the bosses, they were fine. The neighbor of Jack Lemmon's character, the Doctor, he's really good. He was nominated for Academy Award for this, as was Jack Lemmon and Shirley MacLaine. The movie won, Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, I think Best Film Editing, like all the top major awards except for an acting award, which is really a shame, especially for Jack Lemmon, because this is one of the great, comedic performances mixed with some drama, like wonderful, but he won a couple Academy Awards anyway, so fuck him. But anyway, like the Doctor character, he's very funny, and he's kind of the definition of a supporting character. He's there when he's needed, and he kind of steals the show when he's there, and then he leaves. So the cast for this were amazing. Like I was kind of saying in the script, the characters were very well fleshed out and well written and great dialogue, and it's like you don't really dislike anybody, even the main bosses or whatever. They're just guys kind of making mistakes, and we all do. I know I do. Again, got the dick. I have no complaints about the cast of the characters. Mwah, perfect for me. And last but not least, I talk about the directing, the editing, and the music. It's Billy Wilder, the direction in this. I love his movies because even though he gets wonderful shots and, I don't know if he has the same cinematographer every time or whatever, but the cinematography is always wonderful, and it's nothing like nowadays. The way the camera moves and everything is amazing. Billy Wilder's direction is always, it's simple yet complex, because sometimes he makes such good use of the foreground and the background, and making sets look like they're much bigger, like The Office. It looked huge with hundreds of employees, and obviously that didn't happen, but he makes it look that way. He's brilliant behind a camera with the lens. He's brilliant. I love the man to death. I've only seen a couple of his movies, but his direction is always wonderful, and the way he can even use characters in the background. Like there's this one shot in the beginning when a couple people are leaving or entering Baxter's apartment to do the doinky doinky doinky, and he stays down, down there, like below the steps or whatever, to kind of hide from him while they go upstairs. There's no need for him to be in that shot, but at the same time, you're watching them, how they're so happy and energetic, and he's down there with his hands in his pocket looking depressed. It's a great contrast, and it makes for an even better scene. Billy Wilder is a director. God dang it, I love him so much. The direction in this is about as perfect as you can get. Editing, not much to say, but the movie flowed. It's a little over 2 hours, but it flowed perfectly. It doesn't feel like over 2 hours. There's nothing that should have been cut out or put in. It was beautifully pieced together, so I give the editor props. I mean, he won an Academy Award, for God's sakes. I'd say she, but it was 1960. Just like in The Apartment, women weren't really treated as well back then. Thank God times have changed in 2017, am I right, ladies? Oh God, I'm so sorry. And the music, it's not in your face. It's not like one of the best movie soundtracks of all time. It's really subtle, in the background, which, that's what movies are supposed to be. But in this case, the movie always fit. It was appropriately kind of cheesy when it needed to be, and I like that. It was appropriately funny when it needed to be, and it was also appropriately dramatic when it needed to be. Again, not like a brilliant soundtrack or anything, but the music fit perfectly. So my final thoughts on The Apartment is, it certainly lived up to the hype, and I figured it would, but you just never know how a movie is gonna hit you. When a movie, it's kind of like the first Mad Max movie. It was built up for me all these years, and yet I really didn't enjoy it. But The Apartment, I mean, Billy Wilder is such a great writer, it makes me jealous. I'm sorry, he was such a great writer, but, The Apartment is just another showcase of his work as an artist, as a director, and a writer, because he was so good at, like, it's almost astounding. Look at he's like Akira Kurosawa. How many movies of theirs are in the National Film Register considered the greatest films of all time? Billy Wilder's up there, and The Apartment is a showcase of that. But it's also just a wonderful film. It's heartwarming, it's funny, it's dramatic, it's everything you want in a movie. You go through every emotion you possibly can, and it leads to an extremely satisfying ending that you're not sure if you're gonna get there, but once you do, you could either have tears streaming down your face, or like I did, a huge smile, because I just felt so good after watching this movie, which means I'm gonna rewatch it another 100 times in my lifetime if I'm lucky, because the movie really is that good. And that's a big thing for me, that the movie is rewatchable, and yes, this movie is rewatchable, and it'll probably get even better the more I watch it. So I give The Apartment a Just Joe rating of 5 out of 5. So thank you very much for tuning in to Tuning Movies with me, Just Joe. I got a lot of links in the description below. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the podcast that I'm sometimes on, all that good stuff. All the links are in there below. Tune in every single Friday. I have a new episode up where I watch a new movie from my collection. There's also a video up where I show my entire collection. If you want to point out any movies that you would like for me to review, or any movies, eventually I'd like to start doing the Too Many Movies Rewatched if I could. And sometimes I'll do the Too Many Movies at the movies. There's some good movies coming out soon, so I hope to get back to the movie theater and, do some videos on those. But for now, every Friday, I will definitely have a video up, and, hope you enjoyed it. I'm Just Joe. As you can see, I've still got too many movies. I'm gonna go watch some because it's what I do. So, I got an accent now, not keeping that, so I'll see you later. Take care. Quiet on the set.